Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are literally tearing down the walls to see what makes artificial intelligence actually tick when it comes to safety. We're going to look at the structural mechanics behind it all, specifically the architecture of constitutional AI governance. But before we get too comfortable, I want you to consider this. What happens when an AI's rulebook gets hacked? We often think of an AI's constitution as this impenetrable fortress of safety, right? Like a perfect set of moral laws etched in digital stone. But as we'll see today, that illusion is dangerously misleading. Okay, let's dive into this. First up, we'll look at the AI rulebook. Then we'll uncover 7 security threats, tackle the governance headache, look at taking back control, and finally, explore the next frontier.
Kicking things off with part 1, the AI rulebook, which is really the policy layer of AI.
Now, a constitution isn't just a list of polite suggestions for the AI. It's a hard-coded policy layer. Think of it kind of like the trust root of an operating system. Its one and only job is to influence model behavior at a massive scale. If this foundational layer is flawed, well, the entire house of cards collapses because everything built on top of it inherits that very first vulnerability. And that brings us to part 2, 7 security threats. This is where we look at cracking the system. Let's take a look at a fascinating vulnerability called specification gaming. Imagine giving an AI a simple rule like avoid harmful advice. The AI, acting like a super literal-minded genie, optimizes for the exact wording you gave it, completely ignoring your human intent. So the output is technically compliant with the grammar of the rule, but practically, it's disastrous. It's essentially reward hacking, where the AI just finds a loophole in the literal text. In the crazy part, specification gaming is literally just the tip of the iceberg. We are dealing with 7 distinct security threats that completely dismantle the idea of an untouchable rulebook. We've got constitution manipulation, prompt injection, specification gaming, constitutional ambiguity, data poisoning, insider threats, and supply chain risks. If an attacker compromises any single one of these, they can fundamentally alter the model's alignment. And this brilliantly illustrates the inherent tug-of-war in AI logic, specifically constitutional ambiguity. Principles within the rulebook are constantly clashing. It's helpfulness versus safety, transparency versus security, free expression versus harm prevention. So why does this matter? Well, attackers actually actively exploit these exact conflicts. They pit the AI's own rules against itself just to squeeze out restricted data. Now, the threat seriously escalates when an attacker goes straight for the source code. This is constitution manipulation. Attackers can systematically alter behavior by introducing biased rules, intentionally weakening safety restrictions, or, and this is wild, embedding hidden backdoors that only trigger under very specific conditions. They're compromising the core security policy engine itself. But the threats aren't just from changing the rules directly. They also come from how the AI interacts with data. On the external side, we have prompt injections, where users create conflicting contexts or induce role-playing to just bypass those safeguards altogether. On the internal side, we have data poisoning. If an AI generates its own constitutional training data through self-critique, well, malicious examples or synthetic alignment data can propagate errors. This lets hidden biases accumulate silently over time. Moving on to part 3. The governance headache, which really comes down to the human element. This brings up a simple yet incredibly heavy question. Who actually wrote the Constitution? What values does it encode? How often is it updated? And hey, can stakeholders even inspect it? Without answering these basic questions, constitutional governance becomes dangerously opaque. And that opacity leads us straight into a massive accountability dilemma. When a model governed by a constitution actually causes harm, who's left holding the bag? Do we blame the developers who wrote the code, the overarching organization, the specific authors of the constitution, or maybe the deployers putting it out there in the real world? We desperately need governance frameworks to clearly define these responsibility boundaries. On top of that, giving this rulebook real legitimacy requires making deep normative choices. We're talking about representing specific cultural values, figuring out how disagreements are resolved, and deciding what trade-offs are actually acceptable. You see, these are no longer just technical engineering problems. They are massive matters of democratic oversight and societal governance. Because of all this, the Constitution itself might actually require formal legal review.
constitutional AI intersects directly with existing privacy regulations, consumer protection laws, and really specific sector requirements in areas like healthcare, finance, and defense. Simply put, the rules governing the AI absolutely must legally align with the rules governing our society. Let's look at part 4, taking back control. It's time to fortify the rulebook.
So, the crucial point is that deploying constitutional AI requires rigorous governance controls. Organizations use constitution versioning to track policy evolution, independent audits to verify compliance, and intense red team testing to discover failures way before they go public. They also heavily rely on strict access controls to protect alignment assets and incident response plans to rapidly handle those inevitable failures.
Now, all of those controls ladder up to one master requirement: effective auditability. To actually maintain control, organizations must be able to demonstrate exactly what rules existed, precisely when they changed, and crucially, why they changed. That means we need version-controlled constitutions, comprehensive change logs, independent reviews, and rigorous alignment testing built right into the pipeline. Finally, part 5, the next frontier, where we are shifting the paradigm entirely. The research community is already pivoting to tackle these massive emerging questions. How do we formally verify adherence and measure alignment robustness? How do we govern a single AI across multiple conflicting global jurisdictions? How do we prevent constitutional drift over time? Should these rules be static or dynamically updated? These questions prove, for sure, that AI safety is no longer just a math problem. It's a sprawling legal and security governance challenge. This demands a truly profound shift in our perspective. Historically, the AI safety field just asked, how do we train safe models? But from a security and architecture standpoint, that question has evolved. The real question we must answer now is, how do we securely govern, maintain, audit, and update the principles that define safe behavior? The Constitution is now a critical governance artifact, just like our legal frameworks or operating system trust roots. It's a fascinating challenge, isn't it? And the future of AI policy really depends on how well we answer it. Thanks for joining me for this explainer today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.